Jake here for American Trucks, and today I'm taking a look at the MBRP Armor-Lite single rear exit exhaust system with polished tip, fitting 2019 to 2023 Rangers. If you want your Ranger to sound beefier and better, but not too over the top, then MBRP has got you covered here. Featuring a more mild exhaust note, this one is going to get a solid 2 out of 5 on our loudness meter. So it is going to wake up your truck, but it won't wake up your neighbors. It also features a great look and an even better price. MBRP has made a name for themselves by producing great sounding exhausts at really reasonable prices, and this Armor-Lite setup for the Ranger is no exception. Now this one in particular is their touring profile, which is going to be the least noisy of the bunch. And as you heard from the clips at the beginning of the video, it does give the truck a deeper, more refined tone, but it's not over the top in any way. It's got a nice mellow note to it, and that carries through to the interior as well. So inside, like outside, the exhaust is noticeable, but only to a point. It's not going to deafen you like some more aggressive setups. And at cruising speeds inside the truck, you'll probably barely even notice it, but once you really lay into the throttle, then you'll hear the difference. Or just drop the windows and you can enjoy the sound coming out of the back of the pipe. It is a great setup for a daily driven truck because again, it's not going to be too obtrusive, but it's still going to sound good. Now this is a full catback system too, so it's going to keep your emissions equipment intact, but it's going to replace your factory muffler and resonator with this single muffler right here. And as you can hear, this has got quite a bit of baffling inside, but you can still see straight through it. So it's not going to be over the top. Sensing the theme here? Also not going to go over the top when it comes to aesthetics either. You do get this nice polished tip with the MBRP logo stamped into it, and it's going to exit in the same location as your stock exhaust, just behind the rear passenger side tire, which is also going to help keep that interior noise down. Now something I like about these clamp-on exhaust tips, though some may decry them, I like them because they give you some additional adjustability. So if you want this to sit pretty much flush with the body of the truck, you can pull it back and have that option. Or if you want it to stick out a little bit more, make it a little more noticeable, you can adjust that as well. Gives you just a little bit more control over how it looks and where it exits on the truck. Now construction here, since this is MBRP's Armor-Lite series, is going to be all aluminized steel. And that is a material that's best suited to drier climates or for trucks that aren't going to see a whole lot of off-road or water type of abuse. It's all mandrel bent, so it's all very smooth. The bends here are pretty nice. The welds look decent as well. And the 3-inch diameter piping here is going to help keep that back pressure down. It's going to let the engine breathe a little bit better, give you a little bit more power. Now that tip we were just talking about is a 4-inch T304 stainless slash cut design as well, so it's going to look quite nice coming out of the end of the exhaust. And though aluminized steel may not provide the utmost protection against rust and corrosion like say T304 stainless, it also doesn't carry the huge price tag of T304 either. Speaking of which, pricing for this system comes in right around the $400 mark, and that makes it one of the least expensive catback systems available for the Ranger. So if you want that great sound without having to pay an enormous price, this is going to be the way to do it. You're going to get a really nice sound, and it's just not going to blow out the budget, and that's one of the things that I like most about MBRP's offerings. Installation, as is typical for most exhausts, is going to get a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and you should expect it to take you about 2 hours to complete the job. Now exhaust systems, as I always say, can get a little bit fiddly, especially if you're not using a lift. Rangers don't sit up too high either, so you are going to have to get under there. Space can be a little bit constrained, but this is definitely a job that you can accomplish at home. This is going to utilize all of your factory exhaust hanger locations. You've got all the clamps that you need included in the kit, and it's not going to require you to make any modifications to your truck. So with that, let's hand it over to one of our AT customers who's going to install this on their own Ranger and walk you through that process.
Okay, tools needed and used: 13 and a 15 millimeter wrench, hammer, a nut driver, quarter-inch nut driver for the stainless steel bands for putting the heat shield back on, some dikes to cut the straps off the heat shield, Allen wrench for the tailpipe chrome piece, a couple different screwdrivers for separating the sections of pipe, some 15-inch, 15 millimeter and 13 millimeter sockets, deep well and shallow, the breaker bar for the front clamp, which was extra tight, and then a battery powered ratchet or a standard ratchet could be used, and then liquid wrench penetrating oil for the nuts and bolts so they come apart, and to get the hangers loose from the rubber. Slips out real easy with that.
Okay, we are going to be installing a new aftermarket
BMRP single exhaust on a Ford Ranger 2021 Tremor. And due to the Tremor's raised height, we should be able to just do all this while the truck is sitting on the ground. Shouldn't have to jack it up or put it on stands or anything. Okay, we are going to take and spray penetrating oil on all the bolts on the clamps, as you can see there, and then also on the suspension or the brackets that hold the exhaust system up. We're going to spray a little penetrating oil on them to help them come apart, and then we will probably need to take and utilize a Sawzall to cut this pipe here to be able to get the tailpipe out. We're also going to need to remove this heat shield to be able to get at the first clamp to put the new system on. Okay, and we're going to need to remove the heat shield from the front of the exhaust, and this clamp here will need to be cut off. Just like so. Remove that. Open this up. Well, there might be a clamp on the other side. You need to get a little penetrating oil on the front clamp. The exhaust system will install from the forward downpipe connection right there. That'll be the first clamp that comes off. And the flexible connector or the flexible exhaust pipe area will actually be removed from the truck. Spray a little bit of penetrating oil on that forward clamp there. This heat shield technically doesn't even need to be removed. It will come out with the pipe, so there's no sense in having to deal with that. And then we will need to remove this bolt from the hanger isolator from the front pipe of the exhaust. So that bolt, which screws into the frame, there's a captain nut in the frame, and we'll just need to remove that bolt. Okay, so now we need to loosen the front clamp, which is a 15 millimeter. And due to the fact that Ford put the bolt facing up, you can't do it with a ratchet, so you need to do it with a regular wrench. And also keep in mind, with all the heat shields in here, make sure you are wearing gloves. There's a lot of stuff to cut your fingers apart up here. Okay, I'm not too sure how Ford tightened that like as tight as they did, but the regular wrench didn't do it. Had to break out a breaker bar to be able to get up here and break that loose. So then once you get it broke loose, you can switch back to a regular wrench if you have a little more space. Okay, so now we need to get a screwdriver in there to pry this clamp open. The front clamp was actually spot welded to the exhaust pipe, so I had to completely remove the bolt or nut off of it, so I take completely separate it, and then by wiggling the thing back and forth you're able to break it loose. So that will aid in trying to remove the pipe from the front downpipe connection. Now we need to remove the hanger bolt, which is a 13 millimeter right there. Okay, now we need to remove this hanger bolt. This bolt, bracket. Okay, we will, once we get that out from underneath the truck, we will separate that and put it onto the new part. Okay, now we need to remove the rear clamp bracket that's in front of the muffler, so that we can then get this section of pipe out. Okay, and then take a screwdriver and get it in between the rear pipe and the down pipe, and you can start to kind of open up these pieces so it'll slide off a little bit easier. And then on the rear we will do the same thing. Get in, and it might help if you take a hammer and knock your screwdriver in there to just kind of loosen that up a little bit so the pipes will come apart. You can see the pipe is coming loose. Just take it, pull it apart like that. Okay, now we will get this hanger off. They do make a really nice tool for this, but if you don't have it, a screwdriver will accomplish the same task. I decided to go with the top one off the frame. That came off easier. Okay, and then get the hanger off the back of the muffler. Just like that. And then we have one more at the back of the truck. The last hanger to get off. It's fairly easy when it's just, we'll just push out of the back. Just like that. And then we just slide this through. And it looks like we'll be able to pull the whole exhaust system out without having to cut it apart. Okay, here we have the old system laid next to the new system. We will need to transfer that mounting bracket isolator from the old pipe to the new, and then we will also probably move the insulation wrap they have there. Just there must have been a reason for it, so we'll just transfer that over. Okay, we reinstalled the isolator mount onto the new pipe, and then we also transferred over the insulation or the heat shield on the exhaust pipe from the old one. The new exhaust pipe is larger, so it doesn't fit up quite as tight as it was on the other, but since it was there, I just figured I'd transfer it over. And then I used stainless steel pipe clamps, front and rear, to hold it in place. And then I also took a hammer and kind of rebent it around these pieces so it fit tight like it originally did. Okay, so now we're putting the new pipe back in, putting it in. We've got the clamp installed, facing downward, the heat shield and the isolator. Wiggle it on there as far as you can. Okay, and then we position the isolator onto the frame, and then we will install the bolt and get it started. Don't tighten anything down or clamp anything down until you got the entire exhaust in place. Okay, now it's time to put the second pipe on. Install the clamp onto the pipe. Get it on there good and snug. And like I said, don't tighten anything up until you've gotten all the way through it. Okay, now we're going to install the muffler. And this hanger actually attaches to the clamp that holds the muffler on. So we'll put this in like so. And slip this clamp will go into this portion of the clamp, so it will slide in just like like that into there and sit up there. So we've got to get it up here first, and then we will get that connected. And the exhaust, the muffler, has no inlet or outlet markings, so I am just installing it so that MBRP reads from front to rear. Okay, now that goes up like that. We take this loose. Tighten that up. And like I stated before, do not be tightening anything completely up until you have the entire system assembled. Okay, put the clamp on the back of the muffler. This is the next pipe in line to go in behind the muffler, and it goes in like such, slides in, and then we get this hanger put in like that. That will support that. Okay, we took the isolator off the frame, so now we will assemble the pipes. Slide that together, grab the isolator, which is here, and we will slide that on to there, and then we will pick this up, get that back in. There's a little guide hole there, and then we take the bolt, put that back together like such, and see the close clearance on the exhaust to the spring. Make sure that your bracket is clear of that spring when you clamp it together. Okay, now let's tighten up that isolator to the frame. Okay, and then go up toward the front one, and let's tighten that one up. Okay, let's tighten these up. And both these isolators were 13mm bolts. Okay, now it's time to start clamping, tightening down the exhaust. With all the hangers in place, some of these with the pipes are movable. Depends on how you put the pipe in and how the hanger hangs. The one that appears to be the most important to start with is the one right rear of the muffler that holds the over axle piece. This seems like this pipe wants to turn the most, so I want to get this one started holding the system, and then we will work both directions from there. And not tightening completely until we kind of get through everything. Then we will go to the next one forward. Make sure that this is not contacting the frame. It is kind of close to the bracket, but I don't think it will be a problem. I don't think it will hit. If it does, I may have to come back with a grinder or sawzall and maybe just remove a portion of that. We will see how that goes. Now the mid point here. Go with the forward one. Get the piece down there properly. Okay, that one I tightened all the way up because I don't think that's not going to be moving or causing any problems. Okay, before you tighten up the rear piece, make sure that the pipe is cleared of the underbody. Don't forget to grab your bling and put it on to make sure that you have clearance. And then with your bling on, make sure you've got clearance there, and keep in mind that there will be some vibration and the pipe will move some. You don't want to bang it against the body. So you'll tighten that up with an Allen head and then go ahead and tighten the clamp forward of that. Okay, and then tighten up the last rear clamp. Okay, and now go back through the system and double check all the clamps and make sure they're all completely tightened.
That's going to do it here for our review and install of the MBRP ArmorLite single rear exit exhaust system with polished tip fitting 2019 to 2023 Rangers. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, for all things Ranger, be sure to keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.